Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. And today it is July the 5th. So, welcome. I am so glad that you're here with us and so grateful that you have taken the time to participate in this wonderful transmission. So, I don't recognize uh, who you are. Do you want to introduce yourself? Oh, now I recognize who you are. Too funny, too funny. Well,
Uh,
thank you for
I'm I'm sitting in my car outside Smoothie King, about to go
oh,
in, and it's raining. So
okay. Awesome, awesome. But I didn't recognize that XTO.
I
Well,
know.
we've got a fun conversation today because, well, every day it's fun.
Yeah.
So it's so good. Ever since it's been probably 2 or 3 days ago, I've been feeling this shift, this it's an up leveling because I know I'm moving to something that I have where I haven't been to before. And it feels like this pull, this draw, this just a lifting into just a different dimension of my own consciousness, because I have come to realize, I mean, we don't go places, it all happens within us. And so it's really exciting. I was looking forward to today. I look forward to every one of these Wednesday beautiful opportunities to come together, and it is always complimentary. It is, I mean, for a little while we tried doing it as a membership, and that proved to not be the way to do it. But anyways, it is absolutely exciting to be witnessing what is happening in the world, because I know that the world's a reflection of me. And as I feel shifts inside of me, as I experience the letting go of lower aspects of myself and stepping into a higher expression of myself, I see that happening in the world. I'm watching so many people retreating into a smaller version and expanding into, stepping up, finding their voice, speaking up, following their heart, doing things that maybe before they didn't think that they could do. So it's really exciting. Anyways, so I am glad that you're here. But I am going to just get right into this transmission, July 5th. And this comes on the heels of celebrating the 4th of July 2023 in the United States. Yesterday was that day of celebration. And it's really fascinating watching, listening, observing how many people are celebrating liberation or liberty and really have no concept of what that means in terms of liberating ourselves from our ego. The Course in Miracles is a course in training our mind to liberate itself from the ego, to liberate ourselves from our lower thinking thoughts. That's what this chart represents. We have lower frequency thinking of fear, of selfishness, of greed, of jealousy, of comparison, of judgment, of shame, guilt. Those low frequencies condense us, they make us feel small. We lose track of who we really are because what we are is infinite. So it requires a lot of layers, a lot of beliefs, tons and tons of beliefs, hundreds of thousands of beliefs that cause us to contract and to basically think about it as a spiral. It's like the mind goes from being infinite, and little by little the beliefs limited and limited and limited and limited until we become a fraction of who we really are. We become so condensed that we forget that we are the creator of our reality. So, but here's the paradox. When we enter the realm of awakening, we are entering into a paradox. We are free to choose to not be free. Let me say that again. we are free to choose to not be free. So we are free beings that, from an expanded perspective, allow the mind to be condensed into a small idea of itself. The mind is what gets totally and completely condensed in thinking. I've got a little grandson, 2 years old, and I'm watching him. For him, the world is so expansive. It was from the moment he was born. This is infinite possibilities on this planet. Little by little, there is his house, his room, his neighborhood. So now, instead of the whole world being his, there are specific things. He's from this town, he's from this place, and these are the foods that his parents eat. These are the foods that he's been exposed to. He's not being exposed to what other people in a different country, in a different, even in a different city in the same state might be eating. He is his worldview is being limited to that which he is being exposed to. So as children, we become exposed to what our parents know, and we become contracted in that belief system. No different in a country. In a country, those who consider themselves American, whether they're born here or they immigrate here and decide to be citizens, or however they get here, their worldview begins to be influenced by where they're at, meaning everything else is no longer relevant or not as relevant. So when we celebrate something like Independence Day, and we feel independent because I get to pick where I live in my state or my country, or maybe if I get to pick what country in the world I get to go to, there are still many limitations that we have no idea are placed on us by the conditioning that we experience. So we think that we're totally free, but yet when you're reacting to something, so for example, in the little town that I'm in, that I moved into not too long ago, there's a sweet little parade to celebrate Independence Day. And then there was some weather that caused a little cloudiness, a little sprinkles, some showers that came, and nothing major during the actual day, but there were experiences that people were reacting to, and they were reacting to them because they're really not as free as they think that they are. So when you are totally free, hello, sweetie, thanks for joining us. When you're totally free, you respond to things. Oh, there's weather. Let me take out the umbrella, or let me get the rain jacket. But when you are reacting to it, oh, that weather is ruining my day, and you're reacting to something that appears to be happening on the outside, you don't really realize that you are in bondage under the egoic training of the mind. When you're totally free, when you're completely free and you know who you are, you know that you're a sovereign being. You don't become sovereign. You know you are. You accept your sovereignty. And as you become more aware, more conscious, because again, all of us as children, like I was sharing about my little grandson, we get conditioned and our world becomes smaller, 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 until it becomes a tiny little dot. This is all that we do. These are the foods that we eat. These are the people that we hang out with. There's 8 billion people on the planet. How many do you really hang out with? Your core friends are probably no more than a handful, truly core. Then you might have 2 handfuls around that, people that you know and you might do things with. And then outside of that, you may have another 20, 30 acquaintances that you see occasionally for activities, for holidays. And then outside of that, there may be another 100 or so that you have known throughout your life. And if you see them on Facebook, or you see them on the streets, or you recognize each other, but you don't really know each other. So of 8 billion people, and you're only associated with a tiny little fraction, little dot on the screen, then your worldview is pretty small. It's pretty finite. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just about understanding the way the mind works. So the more that we contract ourselves into, this is all that I do, this is all that I know, these are the only places that I visit, these are the only restaurants that I go to, the smaller the worldview gets. And inside of that, people think, oh, I am free. And I just find that really funny because, of course, that's how I lived most of my life, thinking that I was free because I could pick a particular cereal at the grocery store, not knowing that I wasn't really aware that the things that were being put in those cereal boxes were not necessarily my best interest, but I was free to pick between Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Puffs. So we have a very limited awareness, limited sense of what real freedom is. The process of training our mind to understand how the mind got trained away from truth and into limitation, we need to go through that same process to undo it. So everybody has to go through the questioning of the beliefs that they have, that they picked up as children, the questioning of the beliefs from the society, from the government, and even from the world at large. Those who think that they might be in charge of the world, those who are self-appointed based on maybe the billions or trillions of dollars that they have. But at the end of the day, if you are, which you are, I'm going to tell you flat out here, you are a soul. You are a soul. You're an expression of God. You are infinite, divine, and you will always be free. Even if you are in jail, you're still free because the jail experience is a choice that you made as a soul to have that in this incarnation. So the more that we begin to accept that what we are is not alterable by anything that we could possibly believe or do or think, we will always be free from the perspective that we were created, all of us, equal, totally, completely free, choosing to have experiences that are very specific. Now, just because we have specific experiences, we don't lose our freedom when we go into that specific experience. We are still completely, always and forever, the free souls that we have been from the beginning. Course in Miracles is attempting to get us to think differently, to change our mind. It's a course in mind training, to train our mind to question what we believe, to question why do we think what we think, to question does that thought support in aligns with the freedom that we have, or does that thought not support and align with the freedom that we actually have? So if you are reacting to things, if you don't like this, if you don't like that, if they bothered you, if they didn't do this for you, if they didn't call you, if they didn't look at you the right way, if it affects you, you are totally, completely free in that moment to choose that reaction or to have a different response. You really are totally free. We've been conditioned to believe that I reacted, so I am not free. They made me do this. They made me feel this way. They said or did or whatever, and I had this experience. Well, we are training ourselves to separate what they're doing from what we are experiencing, how we perceive it, how we interpret it, and what we feel. Because until you're 100% completely in control of how you feel, and you realize, well, if I am free as God created me, then I peace is what I should feel. Peace is my natural state of being, knowing that all is one, knowing that all is connected and there is no out there. So when the mind understands these things and the heart begins to feel them, you begin to realize that you really are free. You're free to choose how you feel at all times. And when you choose to feel the peace that is inherent in oneness, the peace that is inherent in knowing that we're all non-physical. We are not these bodies. We really are not these bodies. We are the life force that animates these bodies. When we cultivate a relationship with the life force, then we can accept that we really are free, and then we live our lives as a limited self full out. Now you live your life exactly how you want to feel it or to experience it, knowing that if you feel happy about everything that is happening, is because you realize that you're not your body, you're not your life, you're not your circumstances. But if you are at the mercy of what's happening outside of you, you can go to the 4th of July parade. You can cover yourself in red, white, and blue. You can have little things on your head that are like little flags bouncing around. Little kids had those little things and was so cute. Some adults did too. And you can decorate yourself in any color. You could decorate yourself in black and yellow if you wanted to on 4th of July, and you would be still very patriotic because you wouldn't be giving power to anything outside of you. You would be celebrating your freedom, not just the independence of the country or the independence of the planet or the independence of the galaxy. You would just be totally free to be you. So as we continue in the Course in Miracles, the chapter 30, the new beginning, and we're talking about beyond all idols, we are still training our mind to see that the ego mind, and the ego is nothing more than beliefs that we pick up that allow for the contraction. That's all that it is. You know, my little grandson, born totally, completely a citizen of the whole galaxy until he began to hear and to read the books and to receive information that he lives here and this is in here and this planet is in this galaxy. I read some of those books to him, so I know what he's receiving. So his mind is receiving thoughts that are creating boundaries, that are creating limitations, that are creating the constriction, that are allowing him to have an individualized experience. So it's very simple. Ego is nothing more than the beliefs that we hold that help us become a limited self, that allows us to have the experience of me versus you. Hello, thanks for joining us. So it is absolutely, totally, and completely imperative that we understand what the ego is. My little grandson did not grow a second toe or an extra 11th toe or a 10th ear or whatever. He's not growing an appendage that is the ego. He is receiving thoughts that are causing his worldview to contract. That is what every single one of us experienced. So, what does that mean when you're studying A Course in Miracles? That you're looking at your beliefs, you're looking at your thoughts. Your thoughts create your reality. So, if you believe that this is all that is possible for you, then that is going to be the boundary that you're going to feel safe in. And if you think that that's what keeps you safe, then you think you're experiencing freedom inside of that boundary. And that's the way most of us live our lives, free inside of a mental boundary. And the mental boundary is what the ego is. The ego is like a circle that we draw around ourselves. When we are little, it's a very big circle. But as we get older, we begin to make that circle smaller, 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 until we identify with this is just all that I am. And that's just the way it has been forever. Now, what is happening, and when I say now, I'm using words to try to describe things that cannot really be fully described. But now, as it appears in this age and time of our experience, we are deciding, many of us, when I say we, many of us collectively are deciding that we want a bigger circle, that we are not comfortable with what we have been agreeing is what we deserve or what we should have. We want more. And when we say we want more, all that we need to do is not believe the limitations that we had before. That's it. It is really pretty simple. You got to erase your beliefs. Well, how do you erase your beliefs? There are, let me just stick with what most people have to do. Most people have to replace them. We replace the thought that I am not going to be okay because somebody broke up with us with the thought that, you know what, if this is the end of that relationship, then I truly believe something better will happen. Either I will live the rest of my time without the partner, but I get to do lots of different things. I get to experience lots of different things, or maybe I'll meet somebody. So you replace it from, oh, this is terrible that this ended and I'll never be happy, with, why not? Why not be happy? Actually, that's one of the most amazing things that you could ever say is, why not? Because we really are unlimited beings, and there is no reason you can't experience something different. So the mind that is limited in its thinking has very specific things that it believes it needs to experience in order to be okay, in order to be happy, in order to be successful. If I do this, then I get that. If I have this, then I become that. If I am loved by this one, then I get to experience this. Those are limiting beliefs. When you replace that with something that gives you more potential, more possibilities, then you literally are making a bigger circle. You're expanding. That is using your freedom, because your freedom to believe what you've been told. My little grandson, he is accepting beliefs that his mommy and daddy are teaching him, and even me. He calls me his abue, his grandmother, but in Spanish, abuela is the term for grandmother. And of course, little baby can't say abuela. That's a mouthful. So he says abue. So that's what I am to him. I'm his abue. So he is taking things that mommy, daddy, and abue are sharing, and they're becoming his truth. But he is choosing to accept those things as his truth, because as a soul, he chose to incarnate, have that experience. That's where his freedom comes from, not because of the country that he lives in or because of, it's Independence Day. He's free because God created him free. So in his freedom, he chooses to have an experience. He chooses to contract himself. And with that contraction comes the experience that he will have, that then as he becomes older, those limitations, he gets to choose. Well, maybe there's another way. Instead of eating food this way, he might try different restaurants. Maybe he dates or becomes friends with people from different ethnicities, and he's exposed to different things. And he might say, so let me do it. Well, just as he has the ability to do that for the rest of his life, question everything, choose differently, when we become aware, and this is the key, when we become aware that we can question anything, that's when you really are becoming more aware of the level of freedom that you actually have, because it is God given. We do not have to accept anything as so. And the more that we study things like A Course in Miracles and enter into the section that we're in, Beyond All Idols, the more comfortable that we're going to be with questioning idols, questioning things that we make mean that they have more power than we do, that they have more status than we do, that they have the ability to make us feel this, that, or the other. So an idol is nothing more than something we have given permission to bring us a level of result that we think makes us feel better. So let me just, we've already read only 2 paragraphs because it takes a while to get through these things. But let me summarize what idols is about, Beyond All Idols, this section. So idols are quite specific, but your will is universal, being limitless. So here we are, an unlimited being coming to an incarnation where we are specifically here on this planet. And here we have very specific idols. Excuse me. So there's this unlimited self, our soul, having a very specific experience. We are going to have specific idols. To my grandson, his mom, his dad are his idols, in some cases me. And those are the things, those are the people, those are the beings that he looks to keep him safe. So they're idolized. They're put on a level of, yeah, you get to take care of me and I'll listen to you. And that is the world that he is entering into, as you entered into the world with your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and so forth. So he is an unlimited being having a very specific experience. All idols have limits. There's only so much that an idol can and cannot do. So we have to understand that. So idols are the belief that there are forms that will bring happiness, and that by limiting is all attained. So my happiness comes from this person that I married. My happiness comes from this job that I have. My happiness comes from this house. So an idol is a limited piece aspect in creation that we say, this is what's going to make me happy. This is what's going to make me safe. This is what's going to give me what I want. So your unlimited self becomes limited and has that experience. When you have awareness that this is the way the game is played, you literally are free. That's how you become free. I am source. I am unlimited. You can even say I am God, because all the teachings lead us to understand that there is only oneness and there's only one essence, one energy. And we call it God, we can call it love, we can call it source. And if you are one with all that is, you are that. Whether you call it God or love or source, it doesn't matter. So when you are out here and you observe it all, wow, everything that is non-physical is what I'm made of, and I'm having a physical experience. Now you are really free. That is your independence. That is your sovereignty. Then you get to decide with conscious awareness, how do I want to play the game of limitation? Course in Miracles wants you to understand that you can play the game of limitation with awareness, but don't make idols. You actually cannot be awake and aware if you have something outside of you that makes you happy. Happiness comes from within. Happiness is a state of being that is an appreciation of all that is. So one who is completely aware of the essence of who they are happy with everything, no matter what. You are happy because, see, we have been, the word happiness has been totally completely perverse. Happiness is, oh, somebody gives me a ring, then I'm happy. Somebody gives me flowers, then I'm happy. Somebody gives me a race, then I'm happy. Somebody brings me a present, then I'm happy. So we have been conditioned to believe that our happiness comes from something external. We don't remember that little children, go watch little kids on a playground. They are happy because their happiness isn't from something coming to them, not unless they've been conditioned that way. And some kids get conditioned that way from a very, very, really young. But a child in their total and complete state of beingness, they're happy playing with the sand, with a toy, with a whatever. They're playing over here, they play over there, they play on this swing set, they play on that slide, and they're moving, and you're watching just joy in motion. When you are living from the inside, when you are being informed from your God essence, your soul, your just life force is inspiring you because it wants to have an experience through you, it absolutely feels joyful. But that joy comes with peace, because you know you're one with everything. There is no separating. You don't have to get this to have this. Peace and joy are one and the same. There is a knowingness that you're here as an observer having a good time on planet Earth. So they go together. There is nothing that is threatening you, nothing that will add to you. That's one who is awake and aware of what's happening here. Now, when we get clear that the mind got conditioned into believing separation was real and gave power outside of ourselves to other things, once you begin to become aware of that, then you're understanding that you have created idols, that for you to be happy, this has to happen. And we're reversing that. Waking up is, I'm happy no matter what that thing is doing. So, and it doesn't mean that we don't have sadness and we don't have those human experiences. Yes, well, we're humans, we're going to have the experience of separation. We just don't need to have it have a meaning other than what it is supposed to have, which is just here to be experienced, not to be attached, not to gain, none of that. Because when you know that you are one with all that is and you're whole and complete, what is there to get from something else if you're whole and complete? There, you can't get anything from anything else, from anyone else. So these idols are just temporary things that we have decided have a limited a limited definition that adds to me. But listen to what Jesus tells us in A Course in Miracles. When we make that thing outside of us mean something, and that is what makes me, completes me or makes me feel better than, it is as if you have said, I have no need of everything. Let that sink in. When you say, this is what I need to be happy, it's as if you say, everything else, I don't need any of that. The mind has been totally and completely tricked. And if you really begin to understand mind manipulation, mind indoctrination, all of those things, you begin to understand that that those who study psychology, those who understand how to control minds, they go into fields of advertising and make you think that you're not going to be happy unless you wear this outfit or you have that perfume or you drive that car, because it conjures up a vision that has you really think you need this idol, you need that car to make you feel better, you need that whatever to feel okay. So humans who think they're free because they get to pick the car that they want are really not free, because they've been told what car they need to have to be happy, and they will slave away to earn the money or do whatever, or steal it if that's what they need to do to have that car to feel like they're somebody. And they think they're free because they walked into the showroom and pick, oh, this is the model that I'm going to pick. Well, yes, you went and picked that model, but are you really free? If somebody scratches that car, are you going to, are you going to lose your shit? Are you going to totally, completely go crazy because somebody, dented your car? Well, then how free are you if that thing has all the power? It's as if you've said, I have no need of everything else. I have no need of the rest of the potential infinite possibilities that God has made available to each and every one of us, because this is what I want. So most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, but most of us, especially in the West, we have been conditioned to believe that these are the things that we need to have and achieve and acquire so that we get to do life right. And they're all idols. They're all idols that have us believe that without those things, we will be as unhappy as we are happy with those things. So happiness is no longer something that we feel within. It's something that happens on the outside. And then on the outside, it can be taken away. Waking up, becoming aware, becoming a conscious being, to be able to ascend into higher expansions of more of what is possible, you've got to look at the places where you are attached, and you've got to look at the idols. So to have a new beginning as one who is free, in alignment with all that is, you must look at where you are bound by limitation, and it's going to be the idols. Walk around in your house. If there is something that you would be upset if a robber came in and took it, you have an idol. You're attached to that. If you have to lock the doors because you are, you don't want nothing to get taken, then your home has become this place that is your idol. This is what keeps you safe. I'm not saying don't lock your doors. I'm not saying not to take care of your things. I'm just saying be aware that that's where your mind is. One of the things that has been evidently clear to me through this journey, and I've been on this journey now for almost 20 years, actually over 20 years, it'll be 21 years this August, is you don't have to give up anything to be enlightened. You don't have to give up any of your material stuff. You only have to give up your attachment to it. You only have to give up the meaning that you have given that thing to give you peace, joy, safety, whatever sense of worth. That's what we are sorting through. It's not the thing itself. It's the meaning. It's the mental. Everything is mental. Ego is mental. Ego is beliefs. It's thoughts. Change your thoughts about those things, and your experience with those things will change. But if you walk around and you've got to lock the doors to feel safe, then you've got some things that are going to scare you if they disappear from your life. You're not going to be free if they do go. If a tornado comes and takes your home, you're going to suffer. Well, wouldn't you like to go through that experience and not suffer? You can. This is the thing. A course in mind training, like A Course in Miracles, is to help you free yourself so that you can go through any experience of life and not suffer. Why? Why would you want to suffer? If you're going to go through it because it's part of your soul's journey, why suffer? Well, the freedom that is promised to those who truly understand the truth, because it's the truth that sets us free, that freedom is only possible when the mind has been trained to only think with God, meaning to only think with truth and let go of that which is not true. And idols fall into what is not true. Why? Because they're made up. That's how you know the difference. What is true, cannot be threatened. It's eternal. It's the same for everybody. What is not true, what is made up and changes for different people. That's why there's no true one status. There's no true one financial amount that makes you happy. There's no one true way of doing life, because there's so many differences. But what is true is that you are eternal life having a temporary experience. There's no suffering in being the observer of all the things that change, because you're on the planet where things change. So your mind has to get into alignment with what is true. So everything that we have learned to idolize, that is part of the conditioning, that is part of creating the ego, that blocks us from accepting what God prefers that we have, being one with God, which is everything, which is an opportunity to experience everything from an expanded state. So if this comes and it goes, so what? That's real freedom. All right. Let me read this sentence from the second paragraph. So when you have an idol, you basically, that has been reduced to a specific form, and then your will becomes contracted into, this is all that I want to be happy. So you're no longer happy just being your true self, being your expanded self. So what the last sentence in paragraph number 2 says, yet this could never be your will. It's never going to be your will to be contracted. Never. Your will is to have an experience that is well, you could say that is limited because it's on this planet, is as this being that you are. So your will, as one of the expressions of God, is to have this experience, but is to have that experience without limitation, is to have that experience full out, is to be that one you, that version of you that can be totally, completely free. But when you have an idol, now your will is all about not have one idol, but when you live your life with idols, now it's as if your will is limited to, this is all that I can be. And that's not what you came here to do. You came here to experience all that you can be as you, even though it is going to change. But the mind got conditioned, you got contracted, and now you're in bondage. And this is what suffering is all about. So we are learning, we're training our mind to remove ourselves from the bondage, to come back to the place where we reunite with our awareness with God's will for us. And that's to free ourselves, to have a limited experience in freedom, truly in freedom. Okay, so then it goes on to say, yet this could never be your will to be so contracted and limited, because what shares in all creation cannot be content with small ideas and little things. What shares in all creation, you are one with the creative source. You cannot be content with small ideas and little things. For a very long time, this is the way that the conditioning has been. We have believed that for generations, this is the way that it is. And it's been okay up until now that our mind is expanding and that we're being infused with these energies that are activating a desire for ourselves to know more of who we are. We're not going to be content with limited things and small ideas, because We want to experience true freedom. And there is no freedom if you're in fear and you're holding on to things. True freedom is to be able to be like the lilies of the valley, like the birds in the field, that you can move about, that you can truly be a gypsy, that you can truly wander upon this beautiful, magnificent world, totally, completely free. It's like those kids that go backpack. Well, it's not just kids, lots of people do it, go backpacking through Europe or whatever. Today, it's more difficult to do some of those things because the world has become so conditioned into me and mine and limitation and haves and have nots, that we have a world that is in a lot of chaos. So most of us are pulling out of that chaos, finding our true center or true peace. And what is happening is those who really believe that the world should be a place of total freedom for all are co-creating that kind of an environment. And those who want control, who want to limit others, who want to become the idols that others worship, are creating a world that is very dense. It's in the light on the planet is those who want more freedom, who understand that all deserve freedom, and the darkness on the planet, those who want control, who take freedom from others, who attempt to make others worship them or do things their way. And we're seeing little by little where we kind of cohabitated okay for a while amongst all of these things. We're beginning to bifurcate. Those who know truth are not going to be settling for somebody else's idea of idols. They're finding their own connection to God and are not going to settle for limited things. And they're not going to settle for somebody else telling them what they can and cannot do. So let's go into paragraph number 3. Behind the search for every idol lies the yearning for completion. Wholeness has no form because it is unlimited. When you know you're whole and complete, you are one with all that is. You experience what you experience, no attachment, strictly enjoying the experience. Why? Because it's one of bazillions of infinite possibilities, and you're the experiencer of that in infiniteness. The idol, on the other hand, is looking for completion. I've got to get this to become something. I've got to get this to acquire or be. And that is one of the most challenging parts of waking up, is that every thought that we have really needs to be sorted. We need to look at it. Is it about limitation or unlimitedness? Since I'm using this side to express God, or is it about limitation? Look at all of your thoughts through that filter. Is it limiting? Is it expansive? Because until you are comfortable in expansiveness, you're going to be looking for idols to complete you, to make you feel safe and okay, which is a limitation. It draws a box. It puts you in a space that this is where you're going to be safe. And of course, you're going to need somebody to help keep you safe, because if you think that you are a limited self, you're not going to believe that you can do it by yourself. You're going to need somebody else to do it for you. And that is what we are learning, is that we've got to get realigned with what God knows is true for us. That's why we're training our mind to be as we were before we got conditioned, like my little grandson. Before all these thoughts were placed in his mind, he was totally unlimited. And in his unlimited self, he was connecting easily with God. He didn't know any different other than the life force that pulls through him is what he knew himself to be. And that is what we're returning to, which is why we've got to become like little children to enter the kingdom. We've got to get our mind out of limitation and into anything is possible. All right, so wholeness, or I already read that, wholeness has no form because it is unlimited. So to seek a special person or a thing to add to you, to make yourself complete, can only mean that you believe some form is missing. If you have to have this to feel good, if you have to have, those earrings are what completes the outfit, and then you look good. then you don't know that the light that radiates from you is all that is needed to make you shine. There's nothing wrong with the earrings. Are you putting on the earrings for pure joy, or do those earrings have the status of idol, and without them you're not going to be okay? I know I spent a lot of time in my life having to search for the right outfit for the right event that I was going to, and I wasn't happy until I got every single little piece that came together. Was there a level of fun in that? Absolutely. But there was also a lot of suffering in that. There was a worrying that people were not going to see how much work I had put into putting on this outfit. That I was going to have to spend more than I needed to spend to make sure that I had that look, because it was all about what they're going to think about me outside of myself. It wasn't being happy, because if I truly was happy, I could have worn my bathrobe to the biggest gala that I had ever been to, and I would have been totally completely happy, because what they thought of me would not have mattered. But we get conditioned. These are the right outfits to wear to this event, and these are the right earrings to wear. And who taught us that? Advertising. Look at any magazine. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm sure men do too. But the ladies tend to be more easily convinced that you need certain things to make you feel good, to look good, and that this cream and that thing and that tuck and that nip. We are not comfortable being ourselves because we have been given an image that we idolize. And we don't want to get old and look this way, because we want to look like this one, because they plaster her face on all the magazines. And this is the perfect idolized image of what beauty at 60 or at 70 or at 80 should look like. And if I don't look like that, well, my gosh. So we have to understand. Let me read this part again. This is so important. To seek a special person or a thing to add to you to make yourself complete can only mean that you believe some form is missing. Waking up requires an incredible amount of honesty. I know in my classes, in my year-long classes, I harp on the importance of honesty. And most of us can be very dishonest with ourselves. I know I have been very dishonest. Oh, I'm spiritual and I'm not attached. But yet something happens and all of a sudden somebody breaks into your house, or something gets misplaced, somebody takes something, and something is missing, whatever it might be, and all of a sudden you're sent into a tizzy. How free were you? And you might have said a week earlier, oh yeah, I'm enlightened. I've achieved whatever. I'm at peace. Well, when we become spiritual, our ego gets spiritualized first. Our ego is beliefs. So when you begin to read all of these books and these workshops, and you attend all of these things, you are taking in new information. Remember earlier, how do you change your beliefs? You replace them. So the ego replaces beliefs that are not spiritual with beliefs that are spiritual, until you let go of those beliefs too. Because until you are free with no beliefs, not that you're not going to have thoughts, because life force inspires imagination. So those are thoughts, but thoughts that are limited, thoughts that are specific, that are about getting and protecting, those are the thoughts that we are letting go of, because we are moving into a realm of freedom, that we don't have to live by what has been specified is what we're supposed to do, because we're no longer fitting into anybody's boxes. We're not fitting into religious boxes. We're not fitting into educational boxes. We're not fitting into government boxes that you can only celebrate Independence Day on 4th of July and you have to wear red, white, and blue, and otherwise you're not really spiritual. All of those things are going away. This is why the physicians of the future, sure, they'll study with each other, but they're not walking around showing their certificates and having to wear white so that everybody can see that they are the physicians. They are beings that have connected to the healing power within. They may have studied, been apprentices with some people, but they're not having to fit a mold. They don't have to prove what they do to anybody other than it's you feel it or you don't. So we are moving away from all of these rigid ways that the ego has been operating, because that's how they sell us. the certificates and the outfits and the whatever, because it's very rigid, very specific to something that has no limitation. So pay attention. Do you believe something is missing in you? Then you're going to find somebody or something to make it happen, and they're going to be responsible for your happiness. And if they're tired of being responsible for your happiness, then you're going to suffer. And of course, you'll blame them because you won't take responsibility, because you don't think that you're free to make your own decisions because they did it to you. So there's so much work involved in this. And by finding this, you will achieve completion in a form that you like. So getting that thing, now it meets your criteria. This is the purpose of an idol, that you will not look beyond it to the source of the belief that you are incomplete. All idols, all things, all forms, all statuses are distractions that the ego is cleverly using so that you will not think, why do I need this? Why do I believe that I have to have that to be okay? Why can't I just be okay? And I'm with that today. And if we're having fun, we're together. And if we're not having fun, we're not together. I'm at this job because I enjoy today. And if I don't enjoy tomorrow, I can leave. Well, you can't leave that job because you were reading the magazines, and the magazines told you that, well, you need a Lexus if you're going to be a successful person. So what do? You sell your soul to the job. You begin to make all that money. Then you begin to buy all the things that make you feel safe, that create your nice, neat little box. And you put all the things. Yeah, I've got this. I've got this. I've got that. Check, check, check. Now you can't leave that job because that's where the money comes from to pay for all these other things that make you think that you are someone, because you don't know who you really truly are. This is why right now, 2023, lots of things are coming to the surface for humanity to see. We sent money to the government. We paid our taxes, sent money to the government. You keep me safe. I'm too busy over here trying to find the right lipstick or trying to find the right person so that I can be happy. You keep me safe. Sending money over there. And what are they doing? Realizing, oh, these people, they're stupid. Because that's really what a politician who is corrupt is thinking. These people are pretty stupid. I can tell them whatever I want to tell them. They'll send me the money. I'm going to use the money to do something else. And they're not really going to pay attention because they're too busy with all the advertising that is happening, all of the stuff that keeps them distracted. They're not really going to pay attention. And the few that do, the few that speak up, you know what? We're going to say that they're crazy. They're conspiracy theorists. They're, they don't know what they're talking about. We might even get rid of them. We might even put them in jail, or we may suicide them, so that they really don't know what's going on, because over here, we're busy doing what we want to be doing. Why? Because they have their own idols. And if money is their idol, if power is their idol, they're not interested in what your idols are. They just know that if you stay over here busy searching for your idols, you're not going to be paying attention to their idols. And then nobody is questioning, why is all of this happening? Why are we living our lives in so many different little pockets, so many different little groups doing their own little thing? And we're not communicating. We're not operating as a collective. Sorry, my little doggy is getting activated. He's hearing some noise on the outside. So we have an opportunity here to begin to question, why are we so enamored of certain things, certain statuses, certain whatever? Why are we not willing to question that if God created all of us equal, if God is the source of all that is, and we are made of that source, why are we so conditioned into suffering? Because we have idolized so many things that make us feel special. And then, of course, those things go away. We don't want war coming to this shore because we don't want it to interrupt our happiness. We don't want it to interrupt whatever it is that we believe keeps us safe. Well, we need to get engaged. Why do we give so much power to these idols? Why have we allowed external things to have so much power over us that we no longer feel even safe or even free in the country that we're supposed to be in here in America, the land of the free, here in the United States? The whole continent is America. Let me go to this to repeat this, is because we believe we're incomplete. So we are easily bamboozled because we believe that we are incomplete. And that incompletion comes from training that we have been very deliberately given through our education system, through our government system, through our medical system, through our religious systems, all systems designed to block us from the truth of our completion. Only if you had sinned could this be so. We are told, that we are sinners, that there's something wrong with us. That's why things are bad. Things don't work. For sin is the idea that you are alone and separated off from what is whole. And thus, it would be necessary for the search for wholeness to be made beyond the boundaries of limits on yourself. Let me break this down and have it make more sense. We have been conditioned by the church for eons that you're not good enough, you're a sinner, God is up there, but you're down here. So we have been believing hand-me-down beliefs, generation after generation. There's something wrong with you. You've got to go to school. You got to get a degree. You got to become somebody. You got to, get a partner. You got to get a house. You got to get all these things. You got to become, because there's something wrong with you. And by the way, there's something wrong with you because you're a sinner. And, poor little G says, he got killed because of you. It's your fault. So we grow up with all of this stuff in our heads that has us totally, completely become so confused about who we really are. So until you begin, it says in here, and thus it would be necessary for the search for wholeness to be made beyond the boundaries of limits on yourself. You're not going to find yourself in this little small idea of who you are. You've got to get out of that limitation. You've got to question your beliefs. You've got to be willing to discover another way of doing things. And the more that you're willing to try new things, the more you're willing to experience something beyond what you thought kept you safe, what you thought made you whole and complete, is when you're going to really begin to see all of the ways that you limited yourself, all of the idols that you created, all of the boundaries, all of the, it has to be this way for you to be happy and be okay, that were part of the regiment that you were checking off and kept you in a state of constantly chasing. This is how we can be so manipulated because we don't even know who we are, that we're given a story. We're told, well, we got to do this because, we got to go invade or got to send money to Ukraine and the fight against the Russians, blah, blah, blah. And so many people who have no idea what's happening over there. They just heard a headline or read a headline in the news or heard the headline from the idol that they idolize at 7 o'clock news that they watch in mainstream media. And they take that as if that is what is so, because the mind has been conditioned into limitation. I get my news from these people, and so it must be true. Question, go beyond that, explore, check out all kinds of different channels. Right now, I am so excited about what's happening to humanity because not all, many of the idols that we have had are being exposed for the frauds that they are, because an idol is a made up thing. So it's a fraud. It is not real. It has no power unless you believe that it does. That car has no power unless you believe that it does. Now, there's nothing wrong with a wonderful piece of engineering. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Do you have it because you appreciate the engineering that went behind it? You love the color, you love the look, you love the shape. And if it gets dented, so what? So what? You get it fixed. If you are free of attachments, limitations, idols defining you, things are going to come in and out of your life, and it's not going to alter who you are. You will be the witnessing the comings and the goings in this plane of existence where things change. The impermanent is impermanent. It is temporary. But the permanent you, the one that cannot be affected, is always and forevermore. Before time began, when time ends, and it's going to end when we move out of this dimension and we live in our mind has been returned to the state of knowingness where all is happening in the now. time will end. But for now, the work is simply to look at that which makes you suffer and that which makes you feel peace inside. Peace inside comes from your alignment with the truth of who you are. What makes you suffer is that you've aligned with something external as being the source of your peace. We have to sort those two things out. We've got to separate them, separate the wheat from the chaff, and come to know that you are as God created you, always will be, forevermore, pure, non-physical energy, having a limited expression. If you want to enjoy this limited expression, don't be attached to anything. Let him come, let him go. Be the observer. Be the one that enjoys it. Why? Because that's what this planet is about. It's a planet where we come and try on and play with temporary things. And let yourself find your center and that which is eternal forevermore. That is how you're going to find your peace. That's how you're going to find your joy. That is where your freedom lies. I hope you had a wonderful 4th of July. I hope you had fun. I hope you have a wonderful 5th of July. I hope you have a wonderful 6th of July. You don't have to just wear red, white, and blue on one day per year, or maybe, red at Christmas time. Oh, that would be red and green. You can be you no matter what. Then you really are going to feel what this freedom is really, truly all about. So if anybody has any comments, just unmute yourself. And if not, we will get together next week on another Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at noon to have these wonderful transmissions. I appreciate from the bottom of my heart because it gives me an opportunity to allow amazing things to come through me. You're so welcome, sweetie. Absolutely. Love you all so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, beautiful rest of your week. And you are as God created you. Plain and simple. Bye-bye.